Well, how about the segue that we have going on impromptu right now, Sarah? Because Daniel Jeremiah just dropped his 2.0 mock drafts, and we all know the
Oh,
ties that he has to Baltimore as a former scout. I believe you guys overlapped during your time in the building. So he just dropped this. So let's go see. Let's go see on the fly who he's got.
well, go back up. Go back up. So look who he has number 1 overall.
Abdul
Tennessee,
Carter.
Abdul Carter.
Abdul Carter. Okay.
And
I
then
was
Cam Ward to the Cleveland Browns, and then Travis Hunter to the Giants. Okay, I just wanted to see those top 3.
I was going to scroll right past that. How about that? A
Uh-huh.
dude that we just spent the last several minutes talking about goes 1 to Tennessee. To your point, Cleveland takes their quarterback and Cam Ward out of Miami. Travis Hunter, the do-it-all, both sides of the ball, goes to New York, meaning the Giants. And then we'll just say, how about top 5? Will Campbell, a tackle out of LSU, goes to New England. And Mason Graham, a defensive tackle out of Michigan, goes to Jacksonville.
Can you
So
just scroll down? Can you just go somewhat slowly? I want to see where these other outside linebackers go.
Sure. Shadori's got going to Vegas at 6. He's got a tight end out of Penn State going to the Jets and Tyler Warren. There's an edge rusher right there. Jalen Walker out of Georgia going to Carolina.
There's Mike Green.
There's another. And maybe the run begins, right? Mike Green out of Marshall, edge to New Orleans at 9. You've got a tackle and Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas going to Chicago at 10. So anyway, so on and so forth. But I'll just kind of I'll build the momentum here. How about this? I'll just kind of slowly scroll. There's Michael Williams.
Now that's more realistic. That's a more realistic trade if you like a guy like him, right? 27 to 15 is still going to cost a pretty penny, but it's more realistic.
Some corners off the board. You got an interior offensive lineman, a wide receiver, which I don't know if there was a wide receiver in his previous 18 picks. I'd have to go back and look. You got a tight end going to Denver. This is going to be an intriguing one based on some of the research that I've done. Ashton Genty is a big-time dual threat pass-catching running back out of Boise State. He's got him going to potentially be Najee Harris's replacement in Pittsburgh at 21. You've got another running back. And by the way, DJ, in a different tweet that I saw, he thinks there's going to be a historic run on running back in the opening round. So wouldn't that be something? I was just going to say, for a team that's already pretty much set at running back.
Loaded at running back.
I'm not saying they won't retool later on in day 3 maybe, but man, what an amazing opportunity that would be if there's a run on that position in that opening round prior to 27th. And that brings us to Daniel Jeremiah's 2.0, and it is Shamar Stewart, the edge rusher out of Texas A&M, going to the Ravens at 27. DJ's little blurb is as follows. Stewart just feels like a Raven to me. He's big, explosive, and disruptive. The production will come. And if you need a little bit of something on Shamar Stewart, he's 6'5", 281. And here's an overview provided by Lance Zierlein, an NFL draft analyst. Stewart is carved from granite, possessing a rare blend of traits, explosiveness, and untapped upside. He's long and sudden off the snap, but hasn't yet learned to weaponize his hands to control the point of attack and bypass protection with go-to moves. His bull rush compresses the pocket off the edge, and he's too athletic for guards when reduced inside. He can be very disruptive in both phases, but requires additional training to start converting his opportunities into finishes. The lack of production relative to the traits is a concern. Still, players who move like him are highly coveted. While the boom or bust label might be in play, it feels like a matter of time before it all starts to click at a high level for Shamar Stewart, who in Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft 2.0, Sarah, he has going to Baltimore.
Nah, I don't know if I love it, Bobby. 4.5 sacks in 3 seasons. Didn't we already do this with Odafe?
Yes, we did.
No,
Evan says the production will come, quote, we've heard that before.
And it did come. He's got 10, but we're looking for a game record, right? Like he had double digits this year. Like that's cool. It came in his 4th year, but and the Ravens are going to have to replace him. I don't think they're going to give a long-term. I mean, after this year, they're going to have big holes. Like I don't necessarily foresee them re-signing Kyle Van Noy again after this year. And Odafe, I don't see a long-term contract.
Unless he
Unless
goes
they do
off.
one now and it's, like, super, modest. So they are gonna have to retool, and maybe Shamar Stewart is a guy that's, like, could yeah, I just don't know that I'm ready for another project like that.
No, I'm with you. Everybody has some have PTSD. There's been plenty of projects that have come through in recent years. And by the way, if don't rule out a Matabike type season for Adafe in year 5 that would obviously warrant an extension, but I just don't know the likelihood of that. He's shown
Yeah.
signs, he's shown flashes, but for him, it's the consistency part of it, and it's the speaking of what Shamar's being knocked out, or what's a knock for Shamar, the finishing ability. We have not
Right.
consistently seen that from 99, right? The athleticism is not what's up for question. The character is not what's up for question. The variety and technique that Chuck Smith has brought out of him is not what's in question. It's can you consistently finish when you are in the neighborhood of the quarterback, and he has not shown that he's capable of doing that consistently.
Right,
So
and I'm like if you need a project in developing somebody, I'm here for it, but not with the first round pick. And I get it's number 27. It's not like they're picking in the top 10 or even the top 15. But like at this point, get a different position where that he's gonna like be able to contribute right away, right away. And so just another project with your first round pick, nah, nah. I'm more looking for like a Zay Flowers impact right away. And of course it'd be harder to get a Linderbaum or a Kyle Hamilton um immediate help or immediate impact because those guys were early draft picks. But what about Wiggins? Wiggins was later and he was able to give an immediate impact. Go somewhere else. I just don't need at your first round draft pick another developmental project.
So there you have it. Daniel Jeremiah, former Ravens scout, has his former team selecting Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. We had our conversations about Abdul Carter, who he has going number 1 overall to Tennessee. A lot of this is for the purpose of the exercise, the purpose of the need, the purpose of the priority, which we're going to do in the coming weeks. Field Yates and Mel Kiper had a conversation on the ESPN side of things for Fields' 3.0 mock draft in terms of who he has the Ravens going after, but we should probably get to some super chats before we get there. How about that?
Sounds good.
Dre Dog got us started about 15 minutes ago. And he says, do we forget that the Ravens had 11 draft picks and didn't trade any? I believe it was that last year. I'll believe it when I see it if EDC and crew gets up off some of them picks to get legit talent at any position. Lizard Wiz.
Yeah, it's like Mike Preston said, it's not what they traditionally do. They either stand pat or they move back. It's rare that they go up, especially far up. But
If
like
there's a
Mike said,
certain
it would be
Louisville quarterback,
signaling. Yeah.
there's a certain Louisville quarterback they might be willing to buckle.
Yeah. Well, and they moved back a few times before they did that.
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
Yes,
they
they
did.
did.
Lizard Wiz says, love the idea of trading up, but for best player available, not need.
Kobe writes, how about trading for another Nittany Lion, Micah Parsons? His interview with Derrick Henry was like someone asking a friend if he likes their job and if they have openings. We shared clips from that last week when he had Derrick on. And of course, they were in New Orleans together.
And remember, Micah straight up said, I'm telling you what, if at the end of my next contract, we're not in Super Bowl contention, I will be going out ring shopping. Like
yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Moneybag said, what position are we really going in round 1 reality? It's what the previous super chatter said. It's going to be best player available. I mean, it can, and it can match need a little bit, but there's plenty of needs. It could be offensive line. I could see an offensive lineman being taken at 27, a plug and play. I mean, the Ravens got a plug and play right tackle in the second round. It could get a safety, which I know we're going to be talking about here in just a second. A guard. I mean, any of those guys, you can find those 3 positions late that can immediately impact the team.
Certainly something I had a shower thought about earlier in the week was if they let Ronnie walk because of the type of money that a left tackle of his caliber who's had a resurgence commands in the market, who's to say they're not going to be back in the right tackle market if they feel confident that Roger can move to left tackle? They feel okay about Voorhees potentially being their starting left guard for the future. And if they want to continue with the Fa'alele experiment, who got an All-Pro vote and a Pro Bowl
I'll tell you right now, they're going to continue with Fa'alele at right guard. It's going to happen.
And if that's the case, maybe on day 2, all of a sudden you have yet another priority looking for your future right tackle.
Yeah.
Okay. Brian Walters says, think we can trade Jerry something shiny for Aubrey. Oh, their kicker. Jerry, he's talking about Jerry Jones, and he's talking about their kicker.
I'm not giving
Brian, I hadn't thought about that, but
I'm not giving any draft capital for a kicker. Sorry.
Louis.
All hail #the vault. Shh, don't tell my piggy bank he's back spending his money with us, Bobby.
He's always showing us love. Thank you, Louis. Sod Blitz 34 says we were second in sacks last year, first in 23. I'm not sure what getting another rusher is going to do. We need secondary help more than a pass rusher. Now, you're right on those statistics, Sod, but in do or die moments, their edge did not show up in the postseason. And I think that's the lasting impression you have of the group. Statistically speaking, collectively, fantastic. And you mentioned Triple Crown, points allowed, takeaways, and sacks in 23, and top 2 in sacks this past season. But what are you going to do for me in those do or die moments? And they have not gotten the production they need in recent years. Another one from Sod, Sarah.
Just real quick, chat is saying like, oh, now Sarah's on the Fa'alele bandwagon. What I just did is I predicted what the Ravens are going to do. And I promise you, with 2 potential holes along the offensive line at left guard and left tackle, they're not going to do a third hole in the offensive line with Daniel Fa'alele. Although I have said several times that Daniel Fa'alele proved me wrong. I mean, he played better than I thought he would. I for sure was one of those people that was like, put Ben Cleveland in there and sit Fa'alele down. Now, would I go as so far as like saying that he was a Pro Bowl caliber offensive guard? No, even though he somehow made it as one of the backups. But that's my prediction, is that the Ravens are for sure sticking with Daniel Fa'alele. Let's make it. I'm not his number one fan here. I'm telling you what the Ravens are going to do. At least what I think they're going to do. Okay, Sod Blitz says, if Malachi Starks, Malachi Starks, ooh, Malachi. Usually there's an H in there. Is there at 27? We should take him, which would give Kyle more ability to move around and put Marlowe back outside.
Sod, we are going in that direction in just a minute. Isaiah C278 says, whichever position we choose for the secondary, I just want Hamilton to fly around and cause some chaos. Of course, Kyle, a candidate, Sarah, potentially for an off-season extension from that 2022 draft class. And maybe, just maybe, they head in the direction yet again for safety in the opening round. That's what Field Yates of ESPN seems to think. In his most recent mock draft 3.0, he has Baltimore selecting Georgia safety Malachi Starks, who again was just mentioned by Sod in that super chat, at 27 overall. Here is the clip, courtesy of First Draft, the show that Field and Mel do together on ESPN.
27th pick in mock 3.0, the Baltimore Ravens take Malachi Starks of Georgia. Are you happy?
Love Malachi Starks. You didn't have. I think he's a ball magnet. I think that's what he's going to be in the NFL. He will go get the football. He's got great range. Didn't have the phenomenal year we expected. I thought he could be a top 10 pick back in August. We talked about James Pierce Jr. and Michael Williams. Malachi Starks was another one of those guys we had way up there in terms of August, even September. Remember that play against Clemson he made? I thought he picked all
first game of the season
this year. That was the only interception, I believe, was the one against
only
Clemson.
One. That's right.
Which was a highlight reel play. But I do think in the NFL he can be a ball magnet. He already proved that during his career. Okay, I think he ended up with 6-7 interceptions for his career. Could have had more this year. Ended up with just 1. But I like this pick. I also think corners the need. Now, the key guy here is TJ Tampa. If TJ Tampa is he a corner, is he a safety? He's a heck of a football player. Now, the recovery speed is the thing in question. That's why it was a 4th-round pick, not a 2nd-round pick. But I think TJ Tampa is going to play a role in this secondary moving forward in 2025.
So a couple things to break down there. Obviously, the player who is projected to go to the Ravens by Field. And then obviously the second-year player who Mel Kiper kind of unprompted there gave a major shout-out to, and that is the former 4th-round pick from last year's draft out of Iowa State, cornerback TJ Tampa. So let's break this thing down category by category. And we'll begin, Sarah, with Malachi. He is a 6'1", 205-pound junior who, again, played his college football at Georgia. Lance Zierlein will go back to his analysis, who had this to say on NFL.com about his draft prospect profile. He's a 3-year starter with reams of high-leverage games on his resume. Most Georgia players do. Starks is a versatile safety with the size and athleticism to eliminate contested catches and the speed and ball skills to shine when the action travels deep. Connection to the route is inconsistent in man, and he's baited out of position by misdirection, but better discipline and anticipation should clean that up. He's not a true force player near the line, and his pursuit angles can be raggedy, but he gets guys down when he's in position. Starks has feast or famine moments on tape, but he figures the test well and star in team interviews. He's a future starter as a movable back-end piece whose consistency will determine his floor/ceiling. So again, Field of ESPN has the Ravens going after a safety, which is certainly a need at some point in this draft. Your initial impression of Malachi Starks?
Yeah, no, he's a guy. He's a dude. Guy's not the word I was looking for. Guy's usually an average. No, he can play. He can play.
You're telling me he's a Jag? You're quoting the great Steve Smith?
No, that is not what I'm saying. No, he can play. He can definitely play, as was stated, like most Georgia guys can. And it's a need for the Ravens, obviously. Eric DeCosta said in his latest press conference that they would like to get another safety so that they can move Kyle Hamilton back to that Swiss Army knife role. Would it be my ideal scenario that they're using their number one, their first round draft pick on a safety over what I see are priorities in the trenches, whether it's on the offensive or defensive line? That is not my ideal scenario. But if the Ravens get to 27 and they haven't been aggressive and traded up, like we mentioned in the top topic, then you want to get a guy that you feel like is going to start for you for 5 years. If you use that 5th-year option. So definitely want to build those trenches. I want somebody that's going to hit Patrick Mahomes. I want somebody that's going to protect Lamar Jackson. But if those guys are gone, then the next thing you do is you get the guy who you feel like is going to play for 5 years, and Malachi could fit that bill.
And again, I feel like I need to reiterate what Daniel Jeremiah is predicting. And again, we're still 2+ months out. But if there's a running back run and a historic run at that in the opening round prior to 27, maybe, just maybe, one of those impact edge players will be there, Sarah, that the Ravens can take advantage of. And obviously that would be a welcome sight. The second part of that clip that you heard Mel Kiper go down was TJ Tampa. And he's the Ravens 2024 4th-round pick at corner out of Iowa State. Mel said the key guy to this secondary he's looking at is TJ. And he went on to say, I think TJ's going to play a role in this secondary moving forward in 2025. He also mentioned that the recovery speed was one of the main reasons why he dropped in last year's draft to the 4th round. So this was a player that unfortunately was really stuck working from behind when he went through that sports hernia, that double sports hernia surgery at the end of training camp, which derailed the opening part of his rookie season. When you look at the numbers, he played just 18 defensive snaps in 7 games. He played 138 on special teams. So this was a player that we saw very little of, but that clearly, and Mel has a lot of Baltimore circles, clearly is somebody that's looked at as somebody that can be an integral piece to their puzzle moving forward, whether it be at corner or elsewhere within that secondary.
He's got a wide open path to do what Mel Kiper is saying here. Brandon Stevens is likely gone. Eric DeCosta essentially said as much in his last press conference, saying that they were going to allow him to test the market and see what we can go out and get. They would like to keep Marlon Humphrey in that nickel cornerback position. And so the path is paved for TJ Tampa. If he is healthy, he will have the entire offseason. He will have bulked up. He now knows what it's like to be an NFL player. He knows what's required. He should know the defense by now. And I think once we start having these OTAs, mini camps, all that kind of stuff, there's no reason, why he will have every opportunity. I'll say that. So it's going to be up to him to snag the role that Mel Kiper is talking about here and to show why he was underrated when he was drafted last year. I mean, by like fell by like a round and a half based off of what guys like Mel Kiper were projecting him to go. So as long as he's healthy, he's going to have every opportunity to seize that role.
Yeah. And might he be a candidate to serve as maybe that nickel role, depending on how this shakes out in the coming months. So again, couple different angles of that snippet that we wanted to take a look at, including a safety that is being mocked to Baltimore and Malachi Starks, and what the future looks like for a second-year corner in TJ Tampa.